Imagine a tool so powerful that it can generate text, create illustrations, videos, or even make you speak. Imagine a tool capable of scripting an entire course session with the progress of activities, statements, preparatory documents, instructions, and everything you might need to animate your course with just one sentence, the prompt. This tool is not taken from a science fiction film. It exists, and it is within our reach. It's called generative AI. But how much do you really know about this technology? Is it possible to really ask him everything? If yes, how and under what conditions? Today, we will demystify this concept and discover how it can transform our practice and even our approaches to teaching. Generative artificial intelligence is a term that can seem intimidating at first. However, its principle is simple. It is software capable of creating new and unique content by learning large quantities of data. Some will stop at plagiarism, but even if this danger is real, generative AI goes beyond that. Without returning to the mollusk effect that I documented in a video, simple use of these tools could in fact limit the content generated to paraphrasing, a sometimes risky synthesis, and an articulation of ideas that is not always mature. But if these tools are manipulated in a thoughtful and structuring way, then generative AI does not just repeat, but innovates, proposes, and it has already happened that it surprises me, opens up creative perspectives for me that I didn't imagine when I started my job. As teachers, our mission is to transmit knowledge and encourage the emergence of skills. But not only that, we must also awaken curiosity and nourish intelligence. Having an A+ or a grade of 20 out of 20 is ultimately very superficial if our student obtained it by producing formatted work, without being a reflection of his personality and incapable of thinking for himself. In short, learning devoid of critical thinking. Generative AI can become an ally in this objective. It can indeed offer personalized learning opportunities, create learning materials adapted to each learner, and give us the means to offer instant and constructive feedback. Not that we couldn't do it, but we have to admit that we didn't always have the time to do this exercise properly. Even less when we're talking about formative evaluations. But be careful. It is important not to mix everything up and to keep in mind that the educational potential of AI does not replace the essence of our profession with human contact, empathy, and our ability to inspire, convince, and even less reassure. In short, pathos is not part of what AI can generate, even if certain language models can give the illusion like GPT or Claude. Understanding the limitations of generative AI is as important as seizing its opportunities. No software is perfect. And yes, AI is first and foremost an algorithm, a tool that does what it is asked, produces content from other content on which it is trained. The presence of humans is therefore omnipresent and still essential for its functioning. Despite all the computing power of today's computers, algorithms can misinterpret nuances, reflect biases, or produce stigmatizing content, depending on the data they have been trained on. And yes, it is what we produce which constitutes the knowledge base of AI. It is important not to forget that. So, how can these tools serve teachers? Imagine an assistant that helps you create quizzes with all the feedback, generate course presentations from your publications. If you know how to provide them with the right materials for them to use, you could imagine them offering you learning activity scenarios and even role plays to encourage engagement and learning. I will come back to this in a future video, but you can already follow what the RAG technique is. Much more effective, in my opinion, than fine-tuning, which many still talk about, and which has the major disadvantage of not limiting the AI so that the generated content is educationally aligned. AI is therefore not your replacement. It would be incapable of doing so, as we see. But it allows you to distribute your efforts differently and thus devote more time to what you chose this profession for, teaching. I keep in mind the issues that make up the digital divide. However, I think that generative AI opens up great avenues for accessibility and inclusion. Educational differentiation, tailor-made and adaptive content, or even the possibilities of translation or multimedia production are examples, among others, of what AI offers as possibilities. For teaching, it is also a great option to meet certain constraints linked to hybrid teaching. Like it or not, hybridity is the new challenge for higher education. With the ability to redistribute effort, teachers can use AI to accelerate content creation, homework correction, and feedback generation, allowing them to focus on teaching and interacting with their students. The dangers are multiple, and I have already produced my video on the mollusk effect. I would just add that there is a major impact on the quality of teaching and that of transmission beyond the commitment of the students, who would also be very badly handled. Gender, ethnic or racial, cultural biases, or even source, confirmation or popularity biases which highlight errors as truths are all vectors which require the expertise of the teacher, if only to guarantee its own credibility, which in turn allows the foundations to be laid for the acceptance of the content, its understanding, and ultimately its memorization. Another factor that leads to the rejection of innovation is time. The podcast episodes in preparation will cover this factor, but to finish this video, I wanted to emphasize the importance of being able to free up time and resources so that teachers can learn to use these tools effectively.